The guy lay flat on the ground for 48 hours, not daring to move an inch, because there was a 300-foot cliff behind him. One wrong move, and he'd be crushed to pieces. He dug his fingertips into the ground as hard as he could, but the sand was too loose. He couldn't hold on and started sliding toward the cliff. His hands were useless, so he had to use his face to stop himself and barely managed to stay put. Just then, his phone in his backpack rang. Should he answer it or not? What if it was his wife calling? Ignoring it would be way scarier than falling off the cliff, but even lifting his hand a little would make him slide down. He adjusted his position, pressed his face against the ground, switched hands to feel around, and finally touched the phone. But right after that, he got stuck at the edge of the cliff with dark, sharp rocks below. It was 2 more hours later, and he was so worn out physically and mentally that he could barely hold on when he suddenly started muttering. Turns out he was timing how often the waves hit the rocks, hoping to use the seawater to cushion his fall and save his life. As soon as he finished counting down, he let go and jumped, falling into the ocean, but the water was too shallow, so his hips still hit the rocks. The intense pain knocked him unconscious, but luckily he woke up in time and used his last bit of strength to surface. But the real trouble was just starting. After he made it to shore, he checked his body. Only a cut on his hand. Nothing else seemed wrong. But when he stood up, he fell right away. And when he came to, he saw he had another wound on his head. Worse still, hitting his waist when he fell into the water had left his legs numb. He remembered he hadn't called his wife back, so he pulled out his phone, but it had gotten so much water in it that it didn't work no matter how hard he pressed it. Now he was really stuck, so he could only shout for help. But who would come to this middle of nowhere? There was a steep cliff in front of him and the endless ocean behind him, so he had no choice but to take off his short-sleeved shirt to dress his wound simply. To save energy, he lay down on the rocks and slowly fell asleep. When he opened his eyes again, he calmed down, and the sharp pain in his waist pushed him to find a way out. He looked around. Climbing up the cliff was impossible, but luckily there was a small island in the distance, his only chance to survive. He used all his strength to roll into the ocean, but his legs were numb and one of his hands was badly hurt, so he could only paddle with the other hand. He hadn't swum for long before he ran out of energy and had to stop in the sea to rest. Just then, a sudden sharp pain hit his stomach. He choked on a big mouthful of seawater and started sinking slowly to the bottom. In that moment of near death, he thought of his wife again. He wasn't willing to die like this. That strong will to live gave him a burst of energy. He paddled with one hand to swim back up and finally made it to the surface again. But swimming to the small island was impossible now, so he could only go back to where he started.